You're watching Weekend at Gabe's and I'm Weekend Gabe. This latest episode was brought to you by the good folks over at the Ghetto Flower. Use our code W@G for an exclusive 15% discount when visiting their site. Tell them I sent you. Now enjoy the show.
All right, we're doing it a little bit different tonight. We're putting the comedy on the front and our music on the back, but it's good because it's going to work out either way. It's a pleasure to introduce to the show for Thursday Funnies, Alyn Dougherty, joining us on Weekend at Games. How are you?
Hi, I am showered, so life is okay right now.
That makes one of us.
I have an hour yet, so after this, I treat these Game 7 playoff games, like race through them, and then I go get the shower. I'm like, all right, put all the work in.
Catch Gabe in the ice bath post game every day.
Exactly. Can't stay up late to listen to Kendrick and the ice knees and my elbows. It's crazy.
Listen, self-care is self-care.
Exactly. Well, Alyn, thank you so much for joining us here on Weekend AIDS. Let's talk about your latest endeavor. You're hosting the Womxn Crush Wednesday showcase over at the Wiener Circle, who are friends of the show. Are you guys utilizing their new karaoke bar area? Is that where it's going down?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, yesterday with the weather being so good, like the patio is just fully opened up, and it is freaking gorgeous back there.
Hell yeah! Did you
Yes,
guys?
I'll go.
Go ahead, Gabe.
So take us into what is Women's Crush Wednesday? Is it comedy, music, karaoke, just fun? What's going on?
It's a great question. So I co-host and co-produce Womxn Crush Wednesdays with Kels the Comic, who I've heard.
Yes.
It's a little bit of a work here, just showing some mutual love. We have a comedy showcase that is featuring exclusively like women and non-binary folks. Basically, if you identify as a male, you just gotta come watch, and it'll be a fun show. But we also now do trivia over at Wiener Circle. So I host trivia every Wednesday over there at 7:30 now. And then every third Wednesday of the month is the comedy.
Word. What kind of trivia are we doing? Where would you locate your trivia expertise?
My trivia expertise is, nonfiction. So it's all real facts, but dirty, right? Okay. So I love to take a play on some things. We did Encanto at one point. And we talked about Bruno. You best believe we talked about Bruno.
Yeah,
of course, you got him.
And one of the categories was sibling rivalry, which is that you had to guess which sibling was which, but if they talk shit about each other. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah. And then this month they're doing all Marvel because Doctor Strange is out.
Man, we love to see it. We love to see it.
Yes. So nerds, please come.
So we learned a little bit about you, that you moved to Chicago in 2014 to pursue a career in public health research. A very appropriate time, by the way, as we're going through this pandemic.
None of us thought we would get that popular. Okay, all of us in like grad school were like, at least this shit is just gonna be like reliable, and then all of a sudden we blow up. It was like when William Hunn blew up on American Idol. None of us were ready for that shit.
That is a throwback name. Oh goodness, yes.
But nonetheless, we all remember it viscerally. It's like a very traumatic take back.
Well, what humor do you find in the pandemic or through public health research? Because people can be like, that's so boring. It's just data and people getting sick, or you're just collecting information on people at their worst. Like, what kind of humor do you find in that?
So I had a very interesting position before the one I'm in now, which is that I used to be a COVID case investigator. So I used to work with the city to cold call people that were already sick with COVID, not knowing that their stuff just like goes to the city, so that we call them and do what's called that contact tracing stuff, right?
Yeah, right. I got one of those calls, by the way. Yeah.
I also.
Oh my gosh, who was it from? Do you remember?
I very much remember me not having time to have that phone call.
Plenty of other Chicagoans, which that's fine. I don't want to talk to y'all either. I hate talking on the phone. Shit.
It's nothing personal. I work from home, and they don't care that I have COVID. I have to clock in.
They should know millennials don't want to talk on the phone. Let's just text this info if you fucking need it, okay?
Yeah. Literally.
But I had some really interesting interactions with folks, one of which was a woman who knew she clearly caught COVID from her parents because they were like no maskers and things like that. But not only were they no maskers, she told me that they truly believed that COVID-19 was just a front from the government hiding the impending apocalypse that we would all know about if we just paid attention to the Bible close enough. And I told her I must have missed that part. My bad.
The thing is, if you read Revelations, you see Revelations. I think.
Yes. You don't read Revelations, you don't have any revelations, and I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, you just leave Pandora right in the box. That is,
Oh yeah, she's happy there. She's happy there. Don't take her out.
Yeah, she loves it there.
Yeah. So talking to strangers every day was just such a wild experience, nonetheless. And you'll have fun with public health experts, nonetheless, too, because even when we're not attending to a crisis, we all like to measure our dicks by how many acronyms we can memorize. It's ridiculous. It's like talking in code.
We were talking about acronyms on this show this week with our interns. Are you familiar with the acronym KIT from yearbook, from any yearbook that you write?
Oh, keep in touch. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, look at that.
You guys are both so old for that. I'll give you an applause.
Everyone under 30 probably doesn't know that. I'm just saying.
Probably not. No. I wonder what they're putting in yearbooks now. Jeez.
Our interns told us that they are putting in Hags, which, first off, the worst acronym of all time. Have a great summer. That is what the kids. That's what's fresh and hot in these streets. Apparently, listen. Gabe and I were talking about this. What are you doing? As you're looking over somebody's shoulder and they're writing Hags in your yearbook. Because Gabe and I were thinking, like, you got to fight him at that point. It's like, you're just being disrespectful.
I'm surprised they're not just putting QR codes in the yearbooks now so they can all go to each other's TikToks and jack off to it. What a missed opportunity for promo.
It's coming, though. No pun.
Yeah, but you get a bruh for that.
That was the incidental. So 2018, you decided to get into comedy. Was that something you already flirted with, or was there just sort of a light bulb moment? You're like, hey, I think I'm good at this. And I want to take that next step.
It's a really cheesy moment. There was a exhibit here in Chicago that was like dedicated to Saturday Night Live. And I just went to it because I'm into the show as a fan. And in going to the exhibit, it's set up really cool in the sense that you learn how the show is put together. So there is a section for what happens on Sunday night. There's a section for what happens on Monday and throughout the whole entire time. And just as a viewer, I didn't know that's how it was set up. So on Tuesday, it's dedicated to like the writing of the show. It's literally just write. And they had a bunch of different interviews from like Seth Meyers, Paula Pell, folks that had just been writing on there for years. And watching them just talk about their experience and what that's like, something clicked in my brain and said, I need to be doing that. And I was like, fuck. Well, I've done a lot of other stuff. I guess we'll give this a try. And I took a writing class at IO, which is soon to be reborn, supposedly. And it's kind of all gravy from there.
Right. And you did multiple levels of training, obviously improv training with Second City, with IO. But you also do stand-up. You hit the circuit, you do your thing out there. Talk to us about, we've had some improv people on, we've had some stand-up comics on. Talk about sort of the difference between those two things. Are they two different muscles? Are they two different things entirely? Like, can't be compared? How do you feel about it?
They're definitely two different muscles. Y'all know how group projects are, right? I mean, I like to do things on my own a lot of times. So the stand-up like pitch wasn't necessarily something that was unfamiliar to me, and just relying on myself was cool. But I do still stick with improv, and I have a lot of like close friends that I do improv with. And the thing that's very different is when you're doing improv, you literally should not have anything in your brain, which is great because I do a lot of weed and can't remember things anyway. But you should just not have anything to bring because you're making it up as you go. You're literally just playing pretend with your friends. And I like that aspect. And that does lend itself to help with the stand-up, especially when you're doing like crowd work and things of that sort. Because you're not like pre-planning crowd work. If you are, somebody's stalking you and it's a problem. And stand-up, I'm a planner. I'm a Capricorn, so I love to plan, and it scratches that itch for me. And it feels like a puzzle that I have to figure out, like what punchline is going to work best, what tags are going to keep punching up that punchline. It's a drug that I am now addicted to, for better or for worse. Jesus.
That's awesome. We were exchanging some messages earlier, and we were kind of joking about this. So you now identify as non-binary. They is your common pronoun. Do you find any humor in the way that people sometimes stumble over themselves and to use the appropriate pronoun, or if they don't even understand how to use a pronoun? Like, do you run into any of those like sort of situations where you're like, this is ridiculously funny?
Oh, absolutely. I ran into that situation with my own mother. I have a great bit in my stand-up now where I talk about how, over last Christmas, I approached her and just said, you know what? I'm having a lot of different thoughts around gender. I don't know exactly what they are just yet, but they're leaning towards me being non-binary. Then I had to explain what that was. Then I was like, I don't know what it is, but this is just what I'm feeling. I may start going by Alyn. What do you think about that? And she's like, you know what? I love you. You're my daughter, and I'll love you forever, Amanda. And I was like, great talk, Mom. Exactly the point.
She got 95% of the way there. It was really.
She really did. And it's from a place of love from her, because I think, the name she gave me is very meaningful and such. And honestly, my name is still bits and pieces from my legal name. My middle name, Lynn, is named after like a very close family friend of ours. And A is still like my first initial. So combining them together still feels a little special in that way. But it is funny to me that people just like really trip over it. Like this is the problem y'all really want to have. This is it. Oh, you must not have a lot of stress in your life because you need to focus on other shit.
How do you plan to sort of, do you plan to incorporate that into your stand-up? Because one of in your reel, you were kind of like, I'm starting to discover a lot about my body, which is weird because I've been in it for so long. But now it's like
it is weird. Jeez. Yeah, I do talk about it, and I talk about it from the perspective that I don't see this from many other people, probably because it's just so complicated. I notice a lot of stand-up that's like well formed after all of the action, right? Everyone likes to talk about like, well, back then this is what it was. I'm in it. I'm still figuring shit out. One day I will say gender fluid, and another day I'll say non-binary. But in my set, I'll be like, there's one thing I've always known I identify, and that's what? A fucking whore. That's right. That is what I've known for a very long time. So that's why my pronouns are also she, they, and daddy.
I will give you applause for that. Right?
Or as my mom says, a people pleaser. Apples and apples.
Do you find like crowds that don't necessarily react favorably to that, or is Chicago a good city for it?
Chicago's a great city for it. I've yet to have a crowd react indifferent, and I want to see what that is like. I don't have that experience yet. I've done stand-up in Boise, Idaho, because that's where my mom actually lives, and so she knows what I have in my set, and she's like, you can't do that. What if somebody follows you and stuff like that? And I'm just like, okay, well, let's see what happens. It was so well received. It was wildly hilarious. But to be fair, I did mention the horror thing first, so I think they got real excited over that first. So you just got to hit them with what they really like, and then all of a sudden just slip it in there. Right. Then they think they're on board.
That's interesting. We have a lot of comedians on here to talk about different venues in Chicago, tailoring content to specific audiences, but I never really thought about like traveling to Boise, Idaho, and figuring out like the crowd. Does your material stay constant throughout, or do you take like a little bit of that nugget from your mom and you're like, okay, let's just tweak this just a little bit?
It depends. When I'm on stage, I try to keep it as consistent as possible, just because I've had a bad habit growing up of just like adapting to different environments just to feel safe. And
Right.
I'm all about just owning the person who I am now. So why would I change that for other people? And I carry pepper spray now, so it's a lot easier that way. So I do keep it a lot of the same. And not to mention, I mean, like, there's probably non-binary people in Boise, Idaho who want to feel seen as well. So why would I compromise myself just to have someone else not feel seen? That doesn't make sense in my brain.
Word.
Yeah. So I was looking at your newsletter that you occasionally write in, and what's
occasionally is a great word.
I mean, you did something this year, but it's sporadic.
We're working on it.
One of the funniest things I saw is like rating my own stuff, which is fucking alarmingly funny, because I really think I may even need to do this and go back to my parents' house and think, oh shit, and really reflect on how much value this actually holds. But you have an NSYNC plate where it says NSYNC's biggest fan, and you love them. You had this little plate that you probably did in school, the same one that they do usually for Mother's Day. But nostalgia 8 of 10 durability, the plate probably never breaks.
It's true. It's
likelihood,
still there.
Likelihood to say
still there.
That is the best part.
It's absolutely. It stands on like a display thing. My mom doesn't let us use it. It's like, I am an only child, so anything I have ever created, it is most likely still there because there was never going to be anything else of it. And I love that you brought up that plate. My favorite thing about it is I was so self-involved that I apparently felt the need to draw myself on there and then draw an arrow so that people knew that I was the biggest fan.
As opposed to
a plate that clearly was only going to be used in our own home, and I needed people to know.
The best part of the write-up, likelihood to say all lives matter, 1 of 5. 1 of 5. There you go. Yes, absolutely hilarious. I think you need to do more of those. By the way, I'm just saying you should return to that.
Oh, I could make a little killing off of that on Etsy. Why not? Let's go.
Let's get that going.
Old school boy band celebration plates. I think
there's a niche for it. There is definitely a niche. You know how many white women would get wet over that? Oh my God.
Ain't no lie, baby.
Listen,
Bye.
The women in Naperville will be lining up. Oh, I need to cash in now. I'll take that shit to Shark Tank.
While we're on the topic, what is the greatest NSYNC hit from the biggest fan while we have you here?
Do you want like an actual legit hit that was released, or do you want a deep cut?
I think I want a deep cut.
You want a deep cut? Okay.
I think I want a deep cut.
My favorite deep cut is Digital Get Down, which is from their No Strings Attached album. And it's literally a song about like chat sex or phone sex. Which means that, and this was released, God, when?
98, 99.
Yeah, something like that. My sister had that album. I used to steal it from her room a lot.
It was like the early 2000s. I remember buying that album with my own money at Target after going to therapy as a child, because that was my reward for going to therapy.
Learn about online sex chat. There you go.
I think I spent that entire session just like talking about the album too. It was such a waste. And so as a 10-year-old, I'm singing about digital get down, just you and me. And this is like when internet had the like modems. And so it has that incorporated into the song. So I appreciate like the sticking to canon of the time. So it's beautiful.
I gotta go listen to this fuckery because I've never heard that album besides from whatever singles that came out from there. But I gotta go listen to this.
I obviously was a little bit of a later.
Watch old concerts of NSYNC on YouTube. And I have many a times. I used to work in college, like a IMAX film projectionist, and myself and my best friend Laura, who were projectionists at the same time, we are both NSYNC's greatest fans. And so when movies would play sometimes, we realized that they were all posted on YouTube. And so one day we spent a whole entire fucking day and watched all 3 tours on YouTube. And what's hilarious about them is that they could not figure out a theme to save their lives. Like there's like
8 dudes in that band. How could you ever come up with a theme? Like,
I guess not. Like there was like space. There was a freaking circus. There was
right.
secret agents, like all into one show. And I mean, still a great show in my opinion. But talk about the reason why we all have ADHD now. We can't make decisions to save our lives.
And neither could younger Justin Timberlake, and that's what we love.
Young JT, yes.
I gotta say, my personal favorite is Dirty Pop. Right before we slide that out of there.
That's such a fun one.
It's a deep cut. It's a little bit of a deep cut. You know, people don't play Dirty Pop.
Single, but a really good one.
Really good one. Was a big
that
hit
was on
in the UK,
Making the Video from MTV, and I remember watching reruns of that over and over and over again. This is all just in my noggin, ready to go. Before I landed on going into public health, I thought about becoming a doctor, and then I realized I remember NSYNC lyrics better than anatomy. There's no fucking no.
Safe to say the next trivia night, Women Crush Wednesdays at the Wiener Circle will be NSYNC related.
Yeah,
definitely should. All right, before we get out of here, in news, we talked about Arbys. Are you a fan of Arbys? Yes or no? And if yes, why?
No, not a fan of Arbys. They have the meats and they can keep them. No!
Don't eat that shit.
I will say, I do buy the Arby's curly fries from the frozen.
Okay, fact. All right, store. I'll own that. Because they are fire.
They're fire. You put that shit in the air fryer after you're like hot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
Blessing.
Yes. Everything else about it, no.
I already have problems, taking my own shits. I don't need any added. No.
All right. Alyn, thanks so much for joining us here on Thursday Thunnies. You can find Alyn over at Women Crush Wednesdays every third Wednesday of the month. Thank you so much for trying to make it out since it's our month.
Thank you for having me.
All right, enjoy the rest of the evening. Listen, that shit is hilarious.
I know for a fact that Alyn marries the 2 things that you love the most: hot dogs and comedy. And I think that you, Gabe, need to be a regular at Women Crush Wednesdays trivia night where, you may not have a really great shot at winning the NSYNC trivia night. But certainly, Gabe, if it was anything hip-hop related, you would be top 5. I wouldn't say top 1.
I told Alyn to do that for this summer. If we can get it out this summer, and our meetings aren't on Wednesday anymore, we'll try to make that work. I'd love to get out there and do that. That'd be fantastic.
Thank you for watching the latest episode of Weekend at Gabe's on YouTube, brought to you by the Ghetto Flower. Make sure to also click on the links in the description for more information to our guests and access to exclusive new music from the Ghetto Flower and so much more. Make sure to also like and subscribe to the show, and also continue to share, support, and show love by clicking on any of the links surrounding my head. Thanks for watching.